Hi, everyone. Good evening if you're in Asia. Good morning, very early morning if you're catching Mary and Karlee over in the States.
Good morning. Thank you for getting us up. We're excited to be here.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And welcome, everyone, to the 8X Pixel Virtual Expo today. Happy World Ocean Week. It's the last day of the week that we're celebrating this. And we're pleased to be hosting this in collaboration with the Blue Hope campaign. So that's a campaign launched by the British High Commission earlier this week to raise awareness of the impact of plastic pollution on our marine biodiversity and to encourage people to take action to tackle marine pollution. So I'm very pleased to have with me today Mary and Karlee Sayre, lovely mother and daughter duo, who'll both be sharing with us their love for the ocean today and the work that they do. So Mary is an ocean artist known for her sea life and waterscape paintings. She illustrates her love of the ocean in oils and canvas and with an innovative art form, painting acrylics on marble. Mary's paintings are exhibited and collected internationally, and she's also a diver, a sailor, and an avid traveler. As a passionate artist and ocean advocate, Mary hopes to promote conservation for a healthy ocean and a healthy planet. So that's Mary. I'm just going to introduce Karlee now. Karlee is an upcoming marine biologist and a recent graduate of Michigan State University. So she's graduated recently with a concentration in marine biology and a minor in marine ecosystem management. With her new degree, Karlee hopes to further educate and advocate for our blue planet. Throughout her life, Karlee has always loved the sea and its wonders, growing up with a deeply rooted passion for marine biology. Now at 23, her love and drive to conserve and protect our waters still goes as she moves into the marine biology field. So Mary's going to share her presentation with us first today, followed by Karlee. And she just has a video that she'd like to share. So I'm just going to hit play on that right now. And then Mary's going to follow up with her sharing after the video.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Karlee Sayre, and I have been an ocean artist known for my sea life and waterscape paintings. I illustrate my love of the ocean in oils on canvas and with an innovative art form of painting acrylics on marble and stone. My unique style of painting on marble utilizes the crystalline veins within the stone to create an elegant yet organic canvas. I painted my first oil painting at the age of 10 and have found artistry as a path. My works are inspired by life in the oceans, the rhythms and movement of the current, the way the light breaks the surface and filters down the depths. All creatures, great and small, with one no more important than the other, how it all works together in perfect harmony and balance. As a diver, I have a unique perspective, one that allows me insight into an aqueous world of wonder. As an artist, I feel a responsibility to display the perfection of nature, especially that which lies below the surface, and share the vision of healthy oceans with the world. This combination of art, science, and observation gives me a voice, one that informs us of reality below the waves, as well as the social and political consciousness needed above them. Art is a medium that empowers me to tell stories. It's a means of communication. Art produces a powerful reaction. Its images evoke empathy, joy, beauty, sadness, anger, fear. It spurs thinking and provides the meaning towards which action is generated. Action necessary now. As humans, we remain very, very visual within our perception of the planet. Images of this planet derived from art, with their sincerity, can provide a meaningful means to effect change, not only within ourselves, but to our culture universally. Meaningful images, accurate and compelling, can bring a focus the artist holds dear to an audience that otherwise might be critical, unaware, or desensitized. To portray such images in an engaging manner, understood by all, is a means to focus on its value and allow the viewer to relate, sympathize, and understand the importance. Art, within all of its concepts, allows us to become involved. With or without knowledge, we can actually be there, not standing on the side, but a very part of the image we see. Most of the images we see of the oceans are from a photographer's perspective. So I would like to share with you some images from an artist's perspective. My work begins with an idea, usually sparked by a visual image, something I can connect with. When I work on marble, I feel like the image is in the piece and it's waiting to be painted out. Sometimes I see it immediately. Sometimes I dream it paintings. Many times I have to contemplate the piece for a long time before I see what's there. Oils on canvas are much easier. Starting with the blank page, you can go anywhere you choose. So I make preliminary sketches from my photos. I want to determine, what is my message? What is my subject? Do I want to show it in its natural environment? Most likely, yes. So I make a composition sketch or choose to work from a photo. If you decide to work from a photo, there's usually distortion. So you will learn to make adjustments to make your painting feel like it's correct. And that's just your instinct and your knowledge of your subject. From your thumbnail sketch, there's a simple rule to follow when you're transferring your idea to your canvas. When in doubt, grid it out. With the grid, you can make your image as large as you want, keeping in line with proportion. A powerful painting has opposing values of light and darkness. The values in your painting are determined by the light source, and portraying images underwater creates its own lighting challenges. In underwater photography, the ambient light source is above and the subject is illuminated from an artificial light source, especially at depths. So in a painting, you may be creating a light source that you did not actually see, and that can be challenging. Ernie Brooks' black and white photographs are the greatest examples of light and how to convey the feelings of emotion for your subject. I highly recommend studying his work and learning from the masters. I always try to determine the light source first, and I practice squinting at my subject to find the values, the light, the middle, and the dark. Making value sketches are a perfect way to determine what you want for your painting. When choosing my palette, I like to use opaque and transparent or translucent pigments. I use a very limited color palette of pure pigments, and I mix my own colors rather than buying pre-mixed colors. And that brings color harmony and unity to my painting. Art is a process of decision-making in which you as the artist make choices from the beginning to the end. You are in charge, so let there be joy in your work and what you create. If you're not happy with your painting or the subject matter, or if you're struggling, put it down and start a new piece, or let it dry and paint over it. If there's no joy in your work, you will be unfulfilled. The fulfillment is in the creation, and the reward comes when you make the sale, which allows you to paint more. So that being said, I love rewards. Because who doesn't want to be able to work in their field and feel the accomplishment and confidence that, yes, I can create this art and people will resonate with it and become collectors. They will relate it to their own story and connect emotionally. And that's how your painting becomes a message. It tells your story, but it connects people to their own story and experiences. I've seen a sunset that looks like that. We dove under a dock, just like the one in your painting. We saw those turtles while my family was on vacation in the Bahamas. I hear their stories all the time, and I think that's wonderful because it's where you can build an audience for your message. I think it's important, too, that when you build a body of work, you have something important to say. You have a collection that holds together and has a voice. Your collection sends a message. These sharks are beautiful and critically endangered. These fragile corals are dying because the temperature of the ocean is rising. It's important your art has meaning to you. Your collectors will recognize your commitment and associate with your message and share and appreciate your passion. My passion is the ocean and ocean environments. I love painting and being here with all of you for one ocean. It is my joy to share my work with you, and I hope you enjoy it too. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that video. That was just absolutely stunning. So now I have a few paintings here that I'm just going to pull up on the screen. And I'd love for you to tell me more about them, Mary.
Okay. This painting the title is What Flies Beneath. And this is actually on antique Verde marble. I selected this piece because it has really dark areas that allow for depth. And then I thought that the eagle rays, how they're together heading one direction. There's a lot of movement naturally in marble, and I built the coral reef on the veining. You can see where I utilize the veins in the marble to determine what the painting will be. So this was probably 16 by 22 inches, and then I clear coat it with the polyurethane, and it brings out all the color in the marble and seals it and makes it UV stable. Next slide. This is a jellyfish. I used the Monterey Bay webcam. They actually have a webcam. You can tune in anytime you want and see the sea nettles swimming along, and it's very soothing and very therapeutic, and I enjoyed painting this. I enjoyed painting it's translucent and gelatinous, and there's a lot of rhythm. So that was fun to paint. Next slide. This is one of my favorite paintings. I was on a treasure hunt for marble, and that is usually a long process. A lot of times I don't find anything. And this was a really odd size. It was 8 inches by 36 inches long. And it was just leaning against the wall. And I saw that octopus in there right away. And I picked it up and I brought it home, and it was a long time before I painted it out, but I could see it in there. I could have hung it on the wall just the way that it was. But I thought, well, I better paint it so that I can sell it. And he turned out to have a lot of character. And so I was real happy with this piece. And I sold it at one of my shows to a marine biologist, a marine biology teacher, actually. So that was kind of fun. I thought he, was going to a good home. These blacktip sharks I was able to swim with in Indonesia. We were in a little cove, and it must have been where they lived, because they surrounded our boat and stayed with us for a long time. And also almost every dive I saw blacktips, and I just really love the sleek line and the speed. It was really thrilling for me to see them every time. And this piece of marble had the veining in it on the right-hand side. And I thought, wow, that looks just like the vertical uprise of the reefs in Indonesia. And it would be a perfect piece for these blacktips because of the dynamic veining through the piece. So that is one of my best dives in Indonesia. And then I also put in the pilot fish because, it's so cool how they travel together. And these little clownfish, I was just amazed at the anemones, how many varieties, and how each clownfish had its own home. I had never really swam with the clownfish until I went on expedition with Ocean Geographic, and I got to photograph a lot of clownfish. I spent a lot of time looking at the different varieties and how the sea anemones fold in and open up, and the variety of color and the movement. And this is a piece that's painted on onyx, and the onyx is actually translucent. Light emits through it. It's very delicate, and it's a very soft palette. And I thought it was a perfect choice to paint the colorful clownfish and the really delicate flower-like anemones. This is Arboret Jetty in Indonesia, and it's an oil painting, an oil on canvas. The size is 20 in inches, 20 by 24 inches. And we did a few dives under this jetty. It was absolutely fascinating. I love the little village. I love the colors. And there is a diver swirl in the painting. And I took a photograph of this. I'm in a boat looking back toward shore, and that's my friend, Dr. Lindsay, in the swirl in the painting. Those are her diver bubbles. So it was great to paint one of all these paintings are my experiences. This is a collaboration between Michael and myself. And Michael was shooting in the Garden of the Queens, and these sharks lined up in this position. And I knew I wanted to paint sharks, and I asked Michael if he would send me some files, because my photography skills, I used to think they were good till I started traveling with the people from Ocean Geographic, and they're so fabulous, and they're willing to share their images with me. So that's a wonderful thing. So Michael sent me all these great images to choose from, and I really love the positioning of these sharks, the direction. I just couldn't get over how they were lined up like that. And I added my own light source at the top. I usually make my paintings depicted in shallow water, so you can see the light filter down and lay on their backs. And then I added the reef system, my own reef system. But these are basically, I painted the sharks right from Michael's photograph, which was really beautiful. The coral gardens, these are my kind of gardens. And when I got to Indonesia, I could not believe how this coral was. There were just stacks and stacks and stacks of these hard corals. I had never seen anything like that. I found it fascinating, and painting this, I related it to the fact that it takes coral so many years to build each one of these polyps into these beautiful gardens. And this was very laborious. It took me a long time to do this painting because of the amount of detail, and but I enjoyed painting it, and I'm really happy with it, the way that it turned out. So the title is Coral Gardens, and this is an oil painting 20 by 24 inches. The title of this is Ethereal Joy. I had this piece of marble for quite a while, and I knew I wanted to put that swirl in there. I knew that there was going to be emotion, and I just contemplated it and thought, what is it? What is this going to be? I just thought the piece was beautiful. It's onyx, and but I was just so undecided. I felt so unsure. And my friend Matthew Smith, who I was also on the Elysium expedition with, published this photograph of a humpback actually diving under the water. And I saw the positioning of the humpback, and I knew that's what I wanted for this piece. So I asked Matthew's permission, and he said, yes, you can paint it. And I felt really happy with it, like it was just made for this. And this piece represents the joy in the resurrection of the humpback whale from near extinction. And this is one of the beaches I was on in Indonesia, and all paths of this painting point to a beautiful place. And it truly was just a beautiful, pristine place. This is an oil painting, 20 by 24 inch, and once again, Arboret Jetty from a different perspective. But I just love the serenity and the feel of this, and it takes me right there, right back to the beach when I see this painting. So I hope you've enjoyed my paintings, and I've enjoyed sharing with you this morning.
Thank you, Mary. I've really enjoyed your sharing as well.
Good.
I saw your paintings before this, but hearing the story of, you looking at a piece of marble and seeing, or a piece of stone and seeing the veins that run through them, and then the thought process of, how that fits with the photograph, and how you position the various sea creatures to align with that is really incredible.
Thank you.
I also love how, a lot of the ocean images we see are quite dark because they're underwater, but you manage to make your paintings quite full of light and really have that brightness to them.
And that is something that a lot of artists will do. Will make it shallow water, and then that's a way to incorporate the light and to have a definitive source rather than front lit like a photograph. So, yes, thanks.
the things that make a picture, but that a layperson like me wouldn't really be able to detect. Like, why is this a good picture? I don't know, but we're getting to hear the tips of the trade from you today.
I do a lot of sketching also. When I see something underwater and I come up, usually on the break in between, I'll usually sketch what I see, and it helps me to go back there and to imagine it. And then I also take photographs, and because I'm not a photographer per se, I will take a lot of photographs and then I work from multiples. But if I have something like that Michael shares with me or Matthew, their photographs are like perfect right off the bat. So I really get to enjoy that. That's really great.
Amazing. So I have a couple of questions for you, but let's leave that to the end of the session after Karlee's presented her.
Yay, Karlee.
So
I'm not a proud mom or anything, Yeah.
Okay.
Good morning.
Sorry, good night, go ahead.
Guys.
Hey, Karlee. Okay. Let me just get the slides up.
Okay, so as Amelia said earlier, I am a newly graduated marine biologist, and during my time as a marine biologist, I did get to go and work with the Cape Luther Institute down in the Bahamas. So thank you to them for giving me this great opportunity. While I was there, I got to work with green sea turtles, as you'll see in my slides. We were able to capture them and tag them. These tags, if we caught one that was already tagged, we would write down its information, take pictures of its shell, because they can be identified strictly by their shell. And then we would put that into a database and be able to track where this turtle was captured again, and they use the same tag number. So I actually, when I was working with the turtles in this research, I actually got to work with a really well-known turtle biologist, Nathan Robinson. He was very well known for his video that surfaced a couple years ago. It went worldwide viral, of the turtle getting the straw taken out of its nose. He was actually on that research team and helped remove that straw from the turtle. And so it was such an honor working with him and being able to learn so much about these animals that I didn't really know. And so I got to tag them, and I also got to work on the turtle camera study that he was conducting. So we would catch these juvenile sea turtles, and they were all hand caught. We would go into the mangroves in the inlets around the island, and after we took the identifying pictures of the turtle and recorded the data and measurements of them, a camera device that also had a radio transmitter was put onto the carapace, or the shell of the turtle. And after 3 hours, it would record for 3 hours. And after 3 hours, the camera would come off of the turtle shell. And then we would use the radio transmitter and telemetry to actually track that camera, get it back to Cape Luther Institute, and then review the footage. And this was actually to observe the feeding habits of the turtles. But actually, after getting back footage, we noticed that there was actually a lot of turtle-turtle interactions. And so then the idea of the research was switched to study turtle interactions, because it was thought that turtles were very, very solitary throughout their lives. And it's given a lot of new insight on what they do when we're not looking.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. She's gone. Oh, sorry.
So this is another picture of the green sea turtle. So this research is still ongoing, and this is actually not one of the turtles that we put a camera on. This was actually one of the turtles that we tagged. This was Stumpy. Before I came to Eleuthera, they had actually caught him the previous May. And as you can see, he only has 3 flippers. So when they caught him, first off, they didn't think that we would really see him again. Well, we did end up catching him again. And we got to tag him and see him. And as far as I know, Stumpy is still living in the mangroves and living a happy life with 3 flippers. This picture is a picture of me and my coral team. While I was interning at Cape Eleuthera Institute, I was put on the coral and turtle team. So I worked with Professor Dr. Nathan Robinson, and then also Lily was the coral team head, and we actually were able to go out and outplant coral. We were given, before I was there, they went to a coral spawning event and collected the gametes, and we were given different types of 3D printed objects with different grooves, different rises on them, and we allowed these gametes to settle on these structures to see which, if they like the grooves or more of the ups on these structures. And then we eventually got to outplant them after they had grown a little bit and were safe to put on the reef. And so we would all go out and we would dive down. There was 2 different reefs that we worked on. And the square little transects that we're holding, we would actually measure out spots on the reef and put, I believe it was 8 to a transect. So they were evenly spaced throughout the reef. And this was to help with the loss of coral that they are seeing in the Bahamas. We were working with mountainous star coral as well as symmetrical brain coral. And so we outplanted these, and they are still on the reef and they are still growing. And it was a really great experience to actually learn all the little nooks and crannies behind outplanting coral and making sure that it's successful. And there's a lot that goes into it that I never really would have thought about. And I never really thought about, oh, you know, I'd really like to go into coral. But having this experience, it's definitely opened my eyes to, like, there's so many different little nooks and crannies within marine biology that just dip your feet in and just have these different experiences, because I've learned a lot through just this one internship that I did between turtles and corals.
That's an awesome shot.
And so you can see these 3-pronged, they were actually 4-pronged, and they were set onto the reef. And this is what the coral gametes were settled on. And so we would take these, they were actually in a sanctuary in a marina. So once they had settled onto these 3D printed objects, we put them into basically hanging baskets until they were ready to be outplanted. So we would go, take them out, put them in saltwater bins, take them to the reef, and then outplant them. And when we were outplanting, we were actually able to cover a lot of ground compared to what I thought we would. So we actually were able to outplant probably a couple hundred little substrates like that within a 50-minute dive. So it's very fast and effective way to outplant coral. And it was a really enjoyable experience. And I would really love to see how they're doing now. We did outplant a lot. So the ones that on the previous slide before this were the concrete substrates, and these were little 3D printed, both the concrete and these were 3D printed. But as you can see, the one that I have on the left has ridges, and then the one I have on the right has grooves inward. So those are the different types of substrates that we were working with different patterns and different grooves and ups on them.
How deep were you planting?
We were planting about 20 feet, which, okay, so the hardest thing about planting at 20 feet is we have these boxes put in the sand that we take the substrate out of. Well, as you can see in this picture, we have the transect, we have people trying to put the coral in the transects, but we have also someone holding the transect so it's not interfering with the reef. And also on these reefs, there was a lot of fire coral. So basically, I was a shuttle between the box that we had of the substrates to the transect. So I would bring them the substrates and they would put them on the reef. And that meant I had to invert myself and go into a box, get out of the box, swim to them, hand them the substrates, and do that over and over. And being in 20 feet of water, that's really hard to control your buoyancy, especially since I was a new diver.
And a lot of equalizing.
Yeah, so it was definitely a lot of
Hard on
equalizing.
your ears. Oh no.
But
I'm
it
sure
definitely
you did a good job.
was a good thing for my buoyancy and a really eye-opening experience, and it definitely helped a lot with my diving. And then, so we had the coral and turtle team, and then we also had the shark and sonar team. And they allowed me to come and work with their sonar with them one day. So I wanted to kind of see what they were up to, maybe learn a little bit about what projects they were working on. And so this is a sonar that we worked with. And so we would go out, we took the sonar, which is a world-class top-of-the-line sonar that was given to CEI to do this. And so we would set up the computer system to the sonar, and then we would set lines behind the boat and actually drag the apparatus, which meant we have to help hoist the sonar in the water, take it out of the water. And this sonar is worth between probably $250,000 $1 million. So it was definitely nerve-wracking hauling it in and out of the boat, but we would take the sonar and it would compute back and compile biomass information into a database. And we would use that to look at the biomass around Eleuthera. And then on the next slide, you can see us actually dragging the sonar behind the boat. And along with the sonar, we actually got to do transect surveys also. So we would have GPS coordinates that were considered on the wall or off the wall. and they were predetermined boundaries, and we would collect data on species in the area. So we would drive, and then let's say a flying fish comes out of the water, then we would have people on every side of the boat, and we would yell out what we would see, and they would mark it. Oh. And so we would have information about more insight on why they may be catching certain species in their research, because the shark team did do shark research. And so if they were catching, let's say, mahi in one area or something like that, we would be able to maybe give them more insight on why they're catching that, and maybe if a certain location would be better for their research. And then the reason for the transects is because during, especially with like the transect survey, seeing clumps of seaweed and stuff, we would even call that out, because during the fall and winter months, the seaweed floating around is actually used for cover by certain fish, which means that there may be more sharks in that area hunting. So for the shark team, it was definitely a good insight for their research that they were doing. And it definitely gave me a lot more insight into another different research and another different path that comes along with marine biology that I had no idea about. I had never worked with a sonar like that, and I had never collected data in that way. And it was definitely very eye-opening. My whole experience at Cape Eleuthera was absolutely amazing, and I learned so much.
Okay, so I don't think we have more slides. There. Hi, Amelia.
Fantastic. Hey, I'm back. Thanks, Karlee, for that presentation.
Oh, thank you so much for having me this morning. I really appreciate it.
So I just had a couple of questions for the two of you. The first one's for Mary. I was just, your passion really came through when you were talking about your art and your paintings. Your passion both for art and for the ocean. So I was wondering, because you mentioned you were also an advocate for, the ocean's health and the health of our planet. Have you been able to start any dialogues with your art? Start any conversations with people and like, oh, that's a beautiful painting, and then like, yes, our ocean's beautiful, but we need to protect it. That sort of thing.
I do. I try always to have a message with my work, and I do a lot of shows. I do shows all over the world, and when I get a lot of one-on-one conversations, especially with collectors, and when they always want to know what brought you here, what brought you to paint this, and then that is always included because it's most important to me. What is it? What do I want to paint? What message do I want to send? And collectively also, when you look at my show, it mostly portrays a healthy ocean, which is what we all strive for. And occasionally I will do a painting like the painting I brought to ADEX last year was called The Food Chain, and it showed the influence, the perfect balance of nature and the influence of man with the plastic ocean, the microplastics, the ghost nets. All of that was incorporated into one painting. So yes, I do. I have a message verbally, and also sometimes but I don't enjoy those paintings. They're not great to paint. So yeah.
We all like to look at beautiful things.
That's exactly right. And we hope it stays that way. We want to appreciate that. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. And so I guess both of you have such a great love for the ocean and then want to get your message across. Have you collaborated between the two of you on your art and your marine biology?
Her whole life. I mean, she started snorkeling, I think, when she was 2. And I used to help with classes, scuba class, and she would wait. And then I would say, okay, it's your turn. And she would come running with her little gear and always was a critter child. I mean, we found every little thing living in the cracks and the holes and every aquarium. She has been to so many aquariums. So when she was 7, she declared her love of the ocean, and she wrote a story, a book, and she said, I'm going to be a marine biologist.
And now that I'm graduated and throughout college and throughout high school, I was always collaborating with my mom. It's more behind the scenes. You know, I give her little tips and tricks. Hey, this might look good here. Or
she does my critiques.
Yeah, I definitely do a lot of her critiques, and I give her, you know, if she gives me a rundown of a painting, I'll help her with the scientific side of talking about, you know, the silky sharks or her turtles. If I have any input that I could help get across the point that they need to be saved by a scientific standpoint, I definitely do help her with that. It's definitely a little bit more behind the scenes, but hopefully as I get out into my major, hopefully there will be more of a collaboration like we are doing today.
Yes.
Amazing. I do hope so. Maybe Mary can start painting pictures of sea turtles that Karlee takes on her
yes.
on her field trips.
Well, when she gets her jobs, wherever she goes, I'll come there and dive with them, and then I'll paint. That will be great.
Amazing. Well, I do hope that you both get opportunities to collaborate more like this. It's been great to have you both here, and
thank you.
I'm sure there's lots of space on the world stage.
We were so excited. We said, "Oh, that would be so cool to do that together." So this has really been great.
Okay. Well, I don't think we have any more questions from our viewers today, and that's all I had. So thank you both very much for being here.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for having us.
And I hope you get to come join us in Singapore again next year.
That will be awesome. We'll all hope for the best there for that. It was really nice to meet you, and thank you so much. We're just very honored to be included.
Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank
Mary
you.
and Karlee Sayre, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.